We are meeting with our next webinar during this lockdown period, and we have already covered some of the important learning outcomes up to the point of audit planning and risk assessment. And today's my objective is to discuss the next section of the syllabus, audit evidence or gathering audit evidence, the syllabus weightage 20%. As you are aware, we have already covered some of the learning outcomes during the previous webinar series. So therefore, I don't intend to discuss all the learning outcomes under the audit evidence through this particular video, but I request you, so you go back and watch the webinars that we have done for the previous batch in terms of some of the learning outcomes under the audit evidence section. So but my today's objective is to summarize the entire audit evidence section and to tell you how to approach the questions, as well as to cover up the few learning outcomes which we have not covered up to now. Right. So let me to summarize the audit evidence section. So in our auditing flow discussion, you can remember my basic diagram. So that this you can remember. Right. The management is here, and the shareholders are here, and the auditors are here. Auditors come and check the finance statement. Management is preparing the finance statement and giving to the shareholders. Shareholders do not trust the management, so therefore shareholder goes and appoint a third party person called chartered accountant to come and check the finance statement which is prepared by the management. That is simply called auditing. In this auditing, when auditor comes and check the finance statement, as you are aware, 100% assurance not possible. Right, and then so therefore we try to give a reasonable assurance. In giving the reasonable assurance, the first step is agree in terms, which we discuss under the SLA US 210, which we have covered or which we have discussed through our webinar series, right? And then we are moving to the next step of auditing, that is audit planning. So this is basic of auditing, and under the audit planning, step 2, right, and then audit evidence, gathering audit evidence. Right, and our last step is reporting. So these are the steps that we discuss, or that we have already discussed during our first 1 and 2 webinars. So under the audit planning, the first step is understanding the business. Which we discuss in detail during webinar number 3. So we discuss why, how and what, right? And after that, after understanding the business, the next important one is a risk assessment, which we discuss. Risk assessment, assessing the risk of material misstatement in the finance statement as a whole, as well as the assertion level, so which we have covered, and you are well aware of this particular section. And then deciding risk response, which also we are aware that we discuss, right? Deciding risk response, so that you can remember there are 2 types of procedures. The substantive procedures are the test of control. The substantive procedures are further divided into 2, the substantive analytical procedures and the test of detail, so that we are well aware. So this particular section, webinar number 3 and 4, which we have covered even the previous webinar series also, this section was covered in depth, because in your examination one of the critical question is a risk assessment question, which is the weightage of the syllabus is 15%. So now you may be wondering why I am drawing this diagram every day or every before any video of this auditing flow, because so you should be able to remember this flow. The way I am explaining, you should be able to explain to someone else, this is what, or this is the flow of external auditing. So when you have this diagram, or when you have a holistic picture of the auditing flow, the most of the questions that are coming into examination can be answered, because this is your advanced audit and assurance paper where the practical application will be tested. Certain practical application you cannot answer through the looking at the study text. So you should have developed a logical thinking or a rational thinking. For that, this flow or going through this flow will be much important. Alright. So then now you should be able to further elaborate this. Now if you look at this, then you should be able to further elaborate this. If you take the risk assessment, you should be able to further elaborate this one. Right. So under this particular section, under the basic principles that we have already learned, so special standard of 240 started from 200, and then 210, 220, 230, 240, 250, 260 and 265. So that we have discussed some of the learning outcomes during this webinar series, and also I hope that you might have already gone through the study text covering these standards. And this particular standard 300, 315, 320 and 330. So these are the important standards coming under this audit planning, right? So these two steps we are done now. And we in the today's our discussion is your syllabus contain about 20% weightage of the audit evidence or gathering audit evidence, or how practically audit procedures are done by the auditor, and what are the appropriate methods that to gather the sufficient appropriate audit evidences for the auditor for a given scenario. So that is what this particular section which we are going to discuss today. Alright. So again I am highlighting. So auditor is appointed by the shareholder and then agree in the terms and look at the fraud indication, and then you come to the plan the work. While planning you understand the business, and then you assess the risk of material misstatement that could be seen in the finance statement, and then you decide what to be done. After you decide, now you are coming and doing the work. You are coming and doing the work called gathering audit evidence. In the audit firm, most of the audit associates, we call audit trainees, juniors, semi-seniors, seniors, associate level 1, 2, 3 supervisors. So they go to the audit field work. Audit field work means we go to the client place, and ask the question from the management, gather the evidences. So that entire process, field work time, what we do? Gathering evidence, gathering audit evidence, right? So this particular part is basically done through the partner manager agree in the terms, and this particular section also mainly involved with the high level of engagement team, partner manager. They only plan the work, they only analyze the finance statement, they only identify the risk of material misstatement, and they only decide what to be done. So they decide what to be done. After they decide what to be done for the identified risk of material misstatement, then the audit team members, the engagement team members should go to the field and do the intended audit procedures. Now the thing is, for you to do the intended audit procedures, you should know what to be done. Right? You should know what to be done. Holistic picture or the overall structure, overall plan has been given by the partners or managers of the audit firm. Now it is you to decide and perform the audit procedures further. So that particular section is this audit evidence. Right? In this basically in this particular audit evidence mean in simply we should learn audit procedures. What are the audit procedures we should do to check this finance statement? How to check the land and the finance statement, what is there? One side account balances which are available in the statement of financial position. Another side transactions that are available in the statement of comprehensive income. Another time is disclosure. If you look at in the finance statement, so this comprises how many items? Statement of financial position, statement of comprehensive income, statement of changes in equity, statement of cash flow and the notes. Right? If you look at all these 5 line items of the finance statement, we can categorize 3 things into the finance statement which we can see. One is account balances, transactions and disclosures. right? In the finance statement, we could see only these three things. Account balances mean all the items that are available in the balance sheet, statement of financial position. Transactions mean all the transactions which are included in the statement of comprehensive income, right? The disclosures mean it is everywhere in the finance statements. There are so many disclosures, maybe the fair value disclosures, maybe the investment property or revaluation related disclosures, or maybe the depreciation rate, maybe the contingent assets, contingent liabilities, maybe the subsequent event after the reporting date. There are so many disclosures. Other than these three, there are no anything in the finance statement when we look at in auditing angle, or when we look at from the accountant's angle. So now the important thing is, you should remember, now auditing mean what? Auditor comes and check the finance statement. You can't check the finance statement as a whole. So that mean what? Auditor comes and check the item that are available in the finance statement. The item that are available in the finance statement mean what? Let's say example, account balance is property, plant and equipment. So auditor comes and check the property, plant and equipment. That is called auditing PP, right? And let's say transaction example, revenue. What is that? Auditor comes and check the finance statement mean what? Auditor comes and check the transaction of revenue. So disclosure, example, going concern related disclosures. Auditor comes and check the finance statement mean what? Auditor comes and check the disclosures in relation to the going concern, whether it is in compliance with the accounting standard requirements, especially the LKS 1, right? So then what is the auditing mean? The auditor comes and check the line item of the finance statement to gather sufficient appropriate audit evidences. So that section is covered under this particular area, right? So that means, so this area we should learn. So how to audit the PP, how to audit the debtors, how to audit the creditors, how to audit the cash and bank, how to audit the revenue, how to audit the expenses, tax expenses, deferred tax, stated capital, disclosure requirement, subsequent event. All the item that you see in the finance statement, how to audit, how we are going to perform the audit procedures on the item that are available in the finance statement are being discussed under the audit evidence section. So that is the whole idea of this particular area of 20% of your syllabus. Why it is there in your syllabus? Why it is there? As an auditor, you should know how to check the items available in the finance statement, since you should know that is there in your syllabus. So when you are working in an audit firm, or if you become a practitioner, you should know not to look at a book, but you should know what to be done for the PP, what to be done for the inventory, what to be done for the related party transaction, that you should aware. So that is why this particular section in your syllabus, right? So that is the background. Now, if you see under this particular section, basically you have to basically what you have to see is audit procedures, right? So what you know is the audit procedures. Let's say, so under this particular section, first we have to learn audit evidence theory. So there is a one part of audit evidence theory, that is chapter number 8. So I am not going to chapter number 7. I am not going to discuss, because we have already done a webinar during the previous webinar series, so that you can go and watch the particular webinar number. Probably previous batch, maybe 8th or 9th, if I am not mistaken, right? Then that is a theoretical part, one chapter that you should aware what is sufficient, what is appropriate, what is assertion, and then what is the procedure, what the procedures designed to discover the errors or the omission, right? Directional testing, substantive analytical procedures, something like few theoretical aspects are there for you to learn. But that is a very small chapter. So in after that, there are about another 7 chapters to talk about practical audit procedures. I would say number 1, 2, Practical audit procedures. What is that practical audit procedures? So, practical audit procedures mean how you are going to audit the financial statement line item in a practical world are being discussed here. So, when we are discussing here mainly, so you should aware how to audit the account balances, how to audit the account balances. The account balances mean, let us say, property, plant and equipment, investment, inventory, debtors, cash and bank, stated capital, right, and let us say creditors, deferred tax and income tax liabilities, accruals, or any other line items which are available in the finance statements, balance sheet. So, these are the main items that we all aware: property, plant, equipment, intangible asset, investment, inventory, debtors, cash and bank, stated capital, creditors, deferred tax, accruals. So, how to audit all these items you should aware. Then if you see the second one, transactions. So, what are available in the transaction in the finance statement? You should aware revenue, and you should aware expenses, how to audit, right, and let us say income tax or the deferred tax expenses, normal other than the normal expenses, right. So, all the items or salary expenses, salary related details, how to verify. So, when you look at the statement of financial position or the statement of comprehensive income, how to audit those items. So, practically you should aware for your examination, right. So, that is number 4. Then I will delete this other section of the auditing flow, that is reporting, so that you do not have to, we are not going to discuss today. So, I am removing this, right. And the next thing that you should aware, how to audit the disclosures. How to audit the disclosures, especially example related party transactions, and then going concern, subsequent events, right. So, or any other disclosures, related party transaction, going concern, subsequent event or any other disclosures part, how we are going to audit, all we should aware, right. So, covering up these all these audit procedures, there are 13 auditing standards which are covered under this particular area. So, if I put the numbers 500, 501, 505, 5010, 520, 530, 540, 550, 560, 570, 580, 600, 610 and 620. Mainly all these 13 standards are covered in this particular area. Now, so this is what is there in the 20%. If you look at your study text, the study text has about more than 600 pages. Out of 600 pages, 180 pages are covered this particular area for 8 chapters. Out of 20 chapters, 8 chapters for this particular area, right. So, now my objective is not to tell you in the syllabus this is there, that you are already aware. I have explained that during the webinar number 1. Why I relook at this? To tell you how you should approach at the examination, right. In the examination, what type of question would come. So, let us look at the what type of question would come in your examination, and then I will tell you how to get ready for the examination with a shortcut or with a, now you have very limited time for the examination. We will see how you can summarize this entire section with a short time and somehow practice the questions. Right, I am going to get the online, pirate paper, December online. pilot paper. So I am going to show you pilot paper how the questions would come in your audit evidence section, but basically in the MCQ question, you know, there could be question, but those are very difficult MCQ question in terms of audit evidence. But I will go to the long case scenario questions and show you how the questions would come. So basically audit evidence mainly will be tested in the long case scenario questions, because this is basically with regard to a practical application. So the section number 3, if you see the question paper of pilot paper section number 3, so this particular question I show you in the previous webinar as well. So mainly this questions is risk assessment question for 20 marks. So look at the part A of the question and part B of the question, which we have already looked at. They explain the difference between the overall audit strategy and the audit plan, and outline the key content of the overall audit strategy document. So that is basically theory part of the audit planning. And evaluate 4 risk of material misstatement to be considered in developing the overall audit strategy for Lanka Machinery PLC for the year ended 31st March 2019, that is for 8 marks. See, now this is the risk assessment question where you have to identify the significant risk out of the many risks that you could see in the question. Then part 3, outline auditor's response. See, right, outline auditor's response. So this is important part. Outline auditor's response for each of the risk of material misstatement in identified to above. එතකොට විභාගෙදි කියන්නේ මෙන්න මේකට තමයි audit procedures ලියන්න ඕනේ කියලා අපෙන් අහන්නේ. අර කලින් ප්‍රශ්නේ උත්තර දෙනකොට අපි හඳුනාගත්ත risk මොනවා හරි තියෙනවා නම් ඒවට audit procedures ලියන්න කියලා කියන්නේ. Right? This is challenging. So even if you can memorize the entire study text of 180 pages, you would not be able to answer unless you understand this concept in a logical way, and also if you develop a practical way of thinking or a practical way of approaching the questions for a given different auditing scenarios, right? And accordingly, so now this type of questions would come. Outline auditor's response for each of the risk of material misstatement identified in two above. So let's say, so in this particular question, if you can remember, we have identified the revenue recognition as an audit risk, and we identified the revaluation of properties as audit risk, and we identified the share based payment as audit risk, and we identified the inventory valuation is an audit risk, right? So now if you see here in this pilot paper question, we identified inventory as a risk, if you can remember. So we recognize revenue as a risk in this particular case, and PP, property, plant and equipment, the valuation of properties, we identify that as a risky item. Share based payment, SLFRS 2, we identified that is as a risky item, and inventory valuation, we identified inventory valuation as a risk of material misstatement, and also we identify the provisions or the warranty provision or those things as a risk item in this particular question. So if you can remember this question, these were recognized as a significant risk of material misstatement. Now what is the challenge for the next part of the question? It is asked auditor's response. Now we have to write the audit procedures for this. For you to write the audit procedures for this, you should have a general understanding or a general knowledge what would be the general procedures for property, plant and equipment, revenue, share based payment, inventory, provision. For you, so you can't memorize and write, but you need to have some understanding into these particular areas, how an auditor can perform the audit procedures, or what type of audit procedures that the auditors generally perform. That you need to have a good understanding. To have that understanding, only this particular section you have to learn. So clear? So what type of question would come? Will be a different practical scenario will be given. For that you have to decide the audit procedures. To decide the audit procedures, in general terms you should aware in a practical world how auditor conduct the audit procedures for PP, how auditor conduct the audit procedures for inventory. So what are the general procedures that the auditor should do? So that is the learning outcome, ending learning, end of the day, what is the learning outcome that you should aware, right. But there is a real practical challenge here. What is the practical challenge? Even now there are two challenges. One is, if you look at the study text, there are so many audit procedures for 180 pages. When you go to the practical world, there are so many practical alternative audit procedures that the auditors are performing. It is very difficult to summarize into a booklet and tell, okay, these are the audit procedures. That much of audit procedures are there. But what you should aware in terms of your examination perspective, so you need to have understanding into, so you need to have a holistic or overall understanding of the chapter, and then I will tell you what should be your approach. So you can't remember all the audit procedures. Now if we say inventory, there are about, I would say about 30-35 audit procedures are given in the study text, and those are applicable, those are applied in the practical world as well. But so if you are going for audit firm, certain level you will be able to answer for this particular question. But remember, still you may go wrong because you are not practicing the audit. Now all the audit firms are not practicing it according to the one method of doing, or I would say that all the audit firms are following, because this auditing is a different practical application. We are firm to firm, the procedure may different. So therefore, so just because of going to audit firm also not ensuring that you can answer this question, right, but you will have some understanding, some sort of understanding for a basic areas like cash and bank, revenue, inventory, something like that. So what I was telling you, the first challenge is, there are so many audit procedures which are applied by the firms and that are available in the study text. How can I remember this? So I am going to tell you a strategy, what you need to do. So you need to read the study text, and pick and try to understand. If it is an inventory, so try to think on an imaginary world. Inventory mean like this, then what should I do for the mainly for the inventory? So let's say get example of a watch jewelers. Watch jewelers inventory is gold, and how to verify, and what the audit procedures that I should do based on the study text, it is highlighted. So remember at least main 5 audit procedure. So main 5 audit procedure, if you can remember in a logical manner, that is more than enough, right? That is more than enough. That main 5 audit procedures, what you could do is, then you go and practice question. While you are practicing the question, remember that 5 procedures and try to apply and try to moderate for the practical scenario given in the examination. And the next thing is, if you see out of all these areas, there are few areas the commonly tested or commonly applied by the practical auditors. Now let us say example, inventory, debtors, cash and bank, property, plant and equipment, revenue, related party transaction, going concern. These are highly tested and highly applied in the practical circumstances. So then you have to prioritize those areas, and then practice the question. While practicing the question, that the 5 procedures that is remaining in your mind, try to apply for the given scenario. You will be able to develop, you will be able to construct an answer from yourself, right? That will be the approach. That will be the approach. Otherwise, so you will get confused in this entire area, and you will get mad or you will get confused of this audit evidence section unless you learn properly, right? So given the limited time for the examination now, maybe probably 3 to 4 weeks now. So what I recommend is, now if you have studied this particular area well and good, so try to apply more and more questions, try to apply those knowledge into a practicing more and more question. But so if you have not properly done this particular area, I am going to recommend you now, so read the study text and get summarized into the 5 procedures quickly, and at least remember that 5 procedures and then main 5 procedures, and then try to write the question as far as possible. And also this particular area, I would like to tell you, see, there are 2 types of students normally faced to the examination. So one type of students are, so they are from A to Z in the study text, they know because they have studied properly and they can remember very well. There are some students, so they don't have time and they don't do proper studies and the last moment studies, right? For them, I recommend for the second category, so what you need to really do is that rather remember in the theory, so practice more and more question. While you are practicing, you will feel that there is a one way of the questions are being tested, or there is a one way of practical audit procedures are applied. So if you get that knack of that, this is going to be easy. You can think and write. I will show you today how to think and write. So that can be done. So now, in terms of these particular areas, so we have covered during the previous webinar, so that you can go and watch. So this is one of the critical area which we have covered during the previous webinar series in a summary form. Trade debtors also we covered for the summary form from the previous webinar series, because those are important, right? And certain level of cash and bank also was covered, and then related party transaction is one of the important aspect that we have covered, and going concern we have covered, and subsequent event we have covered, right? So all these some significant areas we have covered during the previous webinar series, so you can go and watch, right? So in terms of this particular section, so actually I have summarized all these section, because to help to the students, I have summarized all these areas, and I have highlighted the 5 main audit procedures in a short note, where it will be much useful for you, because you don't have a time in getting ready for the examination as of, I mean, from today to the July 10th examination. So therefore I have summarized, but I can't give you all through this YouTube video, but so I can't show you, but I don't think it can be, it is useful for you to see and just note down. So I have shared in the social media, you can download. So all these sections are covered into a 7-8 pages short note. So that will be much useful, but not to limit to that, but you have to get that short note and refer to the study text and practice more and more question. I would tell you, let's say your theory learning should be about 30% of this particular area. Balance 70% should be the application of knowledge by practically applying the theory into practical scenarios in a given question. Alright, so that you should remember, right? So now in this particular section, in your examination perspective, so there are chapter number, see, chapter number 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, right? 14, sorry, 14. There are 8 chapters, right? So out of this chapter, sorry, chapter number 14, audit review and finalization. Sorry, this chapter number 14. So this chapter number 14 is going to be a very much important, right? So each and every word of the chapter number 14, which we are talking about the related party transaction, going concern, subsequent event, and the accounting estimate, there are 4 items. Akurak nera mataka tiyenna one. All other 7 chapters, so this is a theoretical chapter. All these chapters, this particular short note will be sufficient, and you practice more and more question to a practical situation. So that would be sufficient. But this particular chapter, you don't have any chance. You should remember by word to word, that much of important related party transaction, going concern, and subsequent event. All the areas we have discussed during the previous webinars because of importance. So all those learning outcomes we have covered, you go and watch. So remember that. So that is an important message for you all, those who are studying at the last moment. Chapter number 14 is going to be a critical chapter. Examiner always touch, practical auditors always apply the knowledge of this particular chapter, right? Clear? So this is what I want to give you a summary of the audit evidence section when it comes to your examination, right? And the one more thing, if you look at this particular paper, how the questions are coming, outline auditor's response for each of the risk of material misstatement identified in 2 above. So be alert on that, or be careful always when you are deciding the auditor's response. It has to be case specific. You can now let's say here we have identified the revenue recognition. The revenue recognition of SLFRS 15 as a risk item, but remember, you can't just write the general procedures which is available in the study text here. So you have to tailor-made that key audit procedures and to see whether with a given particular situation or a given issue in the question, whether audit procedures are going to address that particular issue. So most of our students make this mistake and they just remember the audit procedures, memorize and write at the examination. So that is not correct. So you have to remember those procedures and see whether how you can tailor-made, how you can modify into the given situation or a given scenario or given circumstances, right. So that practicing important. So what I will do is at the end of the webinar series, so I will take up a question and then I will discuss this particular auditor's response, how to think in a practical question, right, at the examination. So outline auditor's response for each of the risk of material misstatement identified in 2 above mean you are going to write the audit procedures, right. There will be another type of question. This is one type of question. Under question number 7 also, so there can be certain questions that are coming from the audit procedures, right. Look at here, part D of the question number 7 or section 3 question number 2, outline 4 substantive procedures. See, it says outline 4 substantive procedures other than external confirmation the auditor should perform to confirm Hero's year-end receivable balance. So that means what? That question is talking about the trade debtors or trade receivables. What are the substantive procedures, right? So I hope that you are clear with that what type of question would come in examination in terms of this particular area. Another one more thing in a summary form. So one more thing that you should aware, like in auditors can perform 2 types of procedures, the test of control and the substantive procedures. So the test of control mean what? The test of control mean testing of control of the business organization, testing of control of the business organization, right. That is simple. So if there is a security guard in a company, so we go and check whether the security guard is there, is available. So just to make you an understanding, what is test of control? The test of control means testing the controls of the business organization. So in this particular section of your audit evidence does not focus on the test of control. Remember, auditors can perform 2 types of procedures, test of controls and the substantive procedures, right. This section talks about the substantive procedures, that is the difficult and most important part of the auditing. The test of control we use as a supportive or another one way of performing the audit, but most important aspect is, the most important part is the substantive procedure. So we are talking about the substantive procedures application in this particular area, right. Therefore, in your examination also, sometimes they ask in this particular question, if you see, outline 4 substantive procedures, positively says. If you go to the question number 1 of section 3, part 3, outline auditor's response. When you ask outline auditor's response, is basically asking the substantive procedures. Even if it is not mentioned, the intention of the examiner is substantive procedures. So therefore, always when the examination, so if the question is not very clear whether it is a test of control or a substantive procedures, in most of the circumstances, if it is to test of control, examiner will say this is test of control. Otherwise, you have to assume that that is mainly, but there can be exceptional situation, mainly for substantive procedures. So that you should remember, right. So that is the summary of this particular area. And also, so now since we have covered this particular few areas during the previous webinar series, so I thought of covering a few learning outcome, few more learning outcome which we have not covered up to now, right. So since I am going to give you a short note as well. So there are few standard which you should aware. So that is, one is SLUS 510. This is a small standard, but the examiner always touch on this, right. So I don't know why, but always 1 or 2 question will come from this particular area, that is initial audit engagement. In addition to that, 540, this is another important standard, that is auditing accounting auditing accounting estimate including fair value accounting estimate as well as related disclosures. And another one more standard is covering, right, another one, but this is not directly connected to here, but important one, 710 corresponding figures along with the 510, right. So, these are the three standards which I intend to discuss today, 510, 540 and 710, and also, and after discussing these three learning outcomes, so and also at the end of the webinar series we will select a question. Now, we have discussed one question from this particular area taking 2 hours, and similarly during this webinar series I will be taking one question from this particular area taking 2 hours and we will discuss, because that will develop, so that will develop way of thinking or way of approaching the question in your examination. Alright. So, this is the summary of the audit evidence section. So, let us move now to today's learning outcome discussion, that is SLA US 510 initial audit engagement, and then 710 comparative information, and then SLA US 540 accounting estimates. So, today's our discussion is auditing opening balances. Auditing opening balances, right. Auditing opening balances, otherwise we use another word called initial audit engagement. Initial audit engagements. This is a technical word which we are talking about. This is SLA US 510. So, now what is really meant by initial audit engagement, or what is really meant by opening balances, and what is the importance that we have from the opening balances, right. You are aware, so when you are presenting in the statement of financial position, the figures of the financial statement, let us say property, plant and equipment figure is disclosed. When you are giving the property, plant and equipment figure, normally 2020 figure as well as 2019 figure is given. Let us say property, plant and equipment is closing balance is 1000 million and our opening balance is 900 million, right. That is how it is come. So, starting from 900 million and the ending balance is 1000 million. So, how this movement should come? Let us say sometime opening balance as at 1st April 2020, our value is rupees 900 million. So, let us say millions, okay. Then you have additions, purchases, right. Let us say you have 200 million additions, right, and you have disposals of rupees 100 million. So, you have a closing balance without depreciation adjustment, I am telling this one, closing balance as at 31/3/2021 is 1000 million. Am I correct? No? 900, 9 plus 2, 11, and so 1000 million. Now, you think in a rational and the logical way. See, as far as the auditors are concerned, auditor's objective is what? Our objective is, see, our objective is management is preparing the finance statement and giving to the shareholder, and shareholder comes and appoint a third party person called chartered accountant and come and check the finance statement. That is what simply called auditing. In this finance statement contains, statement of financial position, statement of comprehensive income, like that. Like this contains statement of financial position. Statement of financial position contains property, plant and equipment. Our main focus is the closing balance. Why? The balance sheet is talking about the closing balance. Now, just think it over. Auditor's objective is to check the finance statement. Finance statement contains the statement of financial position that contains the property, plant and equipment. Our main intention is to look at the closing balance. Now, just think it over. Do we have a responsibility? Do we have a responsibility to look at the opening balance? අපිට opening balance එක සම්බන්ධයෙන් වගකීමක් තියෙනවද නැද්ද? අපිට වගකීමක් තියෙනවද නැද්ද? We have a responsibility. Why? Think like this. If something wrong here, let's say this 900 million has a 100 million misstatement. If 100 million misstatement is there, mean it gradually falls to the closing balance as well. So 100 million misstatement mean closing balance also that 100 million misstatement will remain in most of the circumstances. That is why the opening balances of the finance statement before starting an audit, first of all we need to look at the opening balance of the finance statement. So therefore, as far as the auditors are concerned, this opening balance is going to be an important aspect. So generally, if you are the auditor of the company of the previous year as well, are you bothering too much on the opening balances? No. Why? You have already verified in the previous year, so you are not supposed to look at in detail the opening balance verification. Why? You are the auditor of the previous year, and then you have adequate comfort over the accuracy of the balance. You have a satisfaction over the balance. So therefore, if you are auditor of the previous year, yes, of course auditor has some concern over the opening balance, but if you are the auditor, so you are not going to look at in detail of the opening balances. Then our today's discussion is not to verify the opening balances if you are auditor. So now you know opening balance issue. Look at the heading now. Auditing opening balances, initial audit engagement. What is that? Initial audit engagements. Initial audit engagements. So initial audit engagement mean what? The initial audit engagement mean initial audit engagement. So basically initial audit engagement standard is applied. So initial audit engagement requirement is applied under the two circumstances, right? One, right? One, previous year finance statements were audited by another audit firm. Another audit firm, or previous year finance statements were not audited. What is that? As far as the auditors, being auditor, your main concern, now I am again telling, property, plant and equipment. So you had an opening balance of 900 million and you had the additions. You had the addition of 200 and you minus the disposals of 100 and you come to the 1000 million closing balance. Alright, that's what I was explaining. Now as far as this opening balance is concerned, yes, auditor has to perform the audit procedures, but if you are the auditor of the company, that you don't have to do additional work. But if you coming under this category, what is that this category? This opening balance were audited by another audit firm. So that means the previous audit was done by KPMG or the current audit is done by EY. The previous audit is done by BR De Silva, the current audit is done by the Creston. So something like that. So then if you are not the auditor plus circumstances, previous year finance statements were audited by another auditor, that means another auditor means not the same firm but different firm. So then even if another auditor has done the opening previous year audit, current auditor has a responsibility to look at the opening balance. Current auditor has a responsibility to look at the opening balance. The second circumstances is previous year finance statements were not audited at all. Now suddenly the companies are incorporated in for a different perspective or a different purpose, but some of the companies, they don't bother about the audit even though the legal requirements are there. So after 3-4 years, suddenly they come to an audit firm called ABC Associate, ATC Associate or ATC Associate Nugegoda and ask, can you do the audit of 31st March 2021? So can you do the audit of 31st March 2021? But our company was incorporated in 30th April 2016. During this period, we have not done audit, but we don't want to do also. Can you do an audit procedure? Can you do an audit during the only for this particular year? So now you are clueless. දැන් හිතනවා ගිය අවුරුදු තුනේ කවුරුත් ඔඩිට් කරලා නැහැ, මට මේ අවුරුදු ඔඩිට් කරන්න ඕනේ, මට පුළුවන් ද බැරිද? පුළුවන් ද බැරිද කියන එක මට තීරණය කරන්න බෑ. කවුද තීරණය කරන්නේ? That is decided by the particular standard auditing opening balances called initial audit engagement, right? So we call about when you are undertaking an audit where new audit, as an auditor, when you undertake a new audit, so two circumstances. One is either the previous year finance statements were audited by another audit firm, still we have to do the procedures that we are going to discuss today, or previous year finance statements have not been audited, still we have to perform the audit procedures what we are going to discuss today. So this is highly examinable area where in which circumstances the opening balance would come. So that is the standard which we are going to discuss today. So let us look at the past papers and how that has come, and then we will learn this particular chapter or a particular learning outcome. Right. So if you see this auditing opening balances, where it is coming in your syllabus structure. So this is coming under the gathering audit evidence chapter C, right? And then under chapter C, as I told you at the beginning of the video, there are 8 chapters. So these 8 chapters, I told you the chapter number 7 is a theoretical chapter, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 are the practical audit procedures, but chapter 14 again I am highlighting. Listen carefully. Chapter 14 is one of the critical chapter, even single word you should aware. So this is sometime, it's my past paper analysis, I will show you later. So past paper analysis, if you see, so this is always been tested for a higher number of marks. So therefore, why it is being tested? Because that much of important in the practical application as well. So again I am highlighting chapter 14, audit review and finalization. Each and everything you should aware. There are 4 subsections in this chapter, mainly related party transaction, going concern, subsequent event and the accounting estimate. The 4th area of accounting estimate we are going to discuss through the next webinar. Right, and out of this 8 chapters, so this chapter number 13, sampling and audit procedures. So this has a 2 sections, sampling and audit procedures. One is audit sampling, second one is auditing opening balances. That second part only we are going to discuss today. So that is an important learning outcome in the examination. So if you see, so this is your past paper analysis of the gathering audit evidence section of your CL1. In your CL1 chapter, if you look at the pilot paper, mock paper and the December online examination past paper analysis according to my revisit, you can see the 8 chapters, or even though syllabus weightage goes to 20%, you can see 20 marks, 28 marks and 30 marks have already been tested in examination, because as far as the auditing is concerned, this is an important area, right? So there you can see. So the areas where you can see audit review and finalization, why I told you it is important, you can see out of this 30 marks, 12 marks have been tested from this particular chapter, Out of these 28 marks, 6 marks have been tested from the audit review and finalization. So this is going to be a very much important section, right? So then so this is the past paper analysis. You can take a screenshot and keep with you also when you are studying. So this will be very much useful to understand what are the chapters probably will be tested at the examination, right? So then see, auditing sampling and procedures that we are going to discuss today, but not heavily tested for a long case scenario, but 2 MCQs have come. So that means there is indication that the short scenario, long scenario, there is a possibility during the next examination that would come, right? So if I look at this paper analysis of KB4, this is CL1, the current syllabus. If you look at the previous syllabus, paper analysis into the section that are applicable for today's discussion, I have not given here everything, but auditing, sampling and other procedures, previous syllabus also we had there. So there are some subsection interchange in the new syllabus and the previous syllabus, but this section remains same. Auditing open imbalance and the auditing open imbalance, SLIU is 410 and 710. You can see there are 2 times it has been tested. When you are testing, it is for higher number of marks, 8 marks and the 11 marks, right? So 8 marks and 11 marks. So therefore, if it is tested, it will be for higher number of marks, and also if it is tested, this is going to be an easy chapter for you all, right? So let us look at the past papers. Let us look at a past paper and see how this has come in your examination. So look at the first we will look at the December online MCQ question. Sorry, February 2021 examination paper. So there is a separate video for this, you can see in the webinar series for paper discussion. So if you see part C 1.2, you read the question with me. You work for an audit firm, and the audit manager made the following statement in relation to the initial audit engagement. The engagement in which the company's finance statement for the prior period was not audited by an audit firm. The engagement in which the company's finance statement for the prior period was audited by a firm other than your audit firm. The engagement in which the company's first finance statement are to be audited by an audit firm. The engagement in which the company's finance statement for the prior period was audited and the audit opinion was modified by your firm. Which of the above statement correctly explains the terms initial audit engagement as per US 410, initial audit engagement, open imbalances. Now you can think and write also this one, very simple. And if you look at the December online also, there was MCQ question to think and write. So this question number 1.4, see, we will discuss at the end of the session. You are the engagement manager of an initial audit engagement as defined in SLIU US 410, initial audit engagement, open imbalances. The current year end is 30th September 2020. The finance statement of the prior year were audited by another auditor. The audit client has an investment property measured at fair value. I am not going to read the question now. So we will discuss at the end. Another case scenario question. I am going to go for a June 2019 for KB4 paper. Question number 7. There is a long case scenario given. There is a scenario given. Big stories are there, so many things. Look at this part B and part C. Read that. Explain 3 procedures that the auditor should carry out to confirm the opening balance of the new audit engagement. Explain. Action verb. Explain 3 procedures that the auditor should perform, auditor should carry out to confirm the opening balances of new audit engagement for 6 marks. And then outline the impact on the audit report when the opening inventory balances contain material misstatement for 5 marks. Altogether 11 marks it has been tested. it has been tested in your KB4 paper. So once after we finish today's chapter, so we will come and discuss this particular question, right? Okay, so now look at this, look at the summary, look at the board, and I am going to give you a summary of the standard. Then even if there is a even if there is MCQ question, even if there is a short scenario, long scenario question, entire marks මේවා මේ තෝරලා ලියන්න මේක ලකුණු සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම ගන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්න ඕනේ, because we have only 4 learning outcomes under this particular chapter, right? So the first of all, you should remember the initial audit engagements are applied in a 2 situations where previous year finance statements were audited by another audit firm, or the previous year finance statements were not audited. So these are the 2 situations where auditors apply this particular standard. Number 2, objective of this SLAU is, what is the objective of this particular standard? To ensure right, balances, sorry, right. Number one, opening balances do not contain material misstatement that could affect current year finance statement. The first objective of this particular standard is to perform the audit procedures to ensure that the opening balances of the finance statement do not contain material misstatement which could affect the current year's finance statement, right? And number 2, to ensure right, accounting policies have been consistently applied. What is this? This particular standard, we have 2 objectives. Why this particular standard? This standard is applicable for 2 situations. Finance statements were audited by another audit firm, or the finance statements were not audited. So this standard has a main 2 objectives. Why this standard is there? To ensure that the opening balance do not contain material misstatements, as well as the accounting policies which we applied in the last year and this year is consistent. If there are changes, it has to be dealt with LKS 8 with the retrospective application. So to ensure that, if you look at like let's say the depreciation accounting policy, or a straight line or reducing balance, it has to be consistently applied. If the previous year, if you have applied the straight line, so if you apply the reducing balance this year without any disclosures or without retrospective application, which is not correct. So that is why, so this standard is there to ensure these 2 objectives are done, right? And number 3 is the critical thing that you should aware, that is audit procedures. If you are in the process of verifying the opening balances coming under the purview of this particular standard, what can be done as an auditor? So what can be done? So what can be done as an auditor is highly testable at the examination, right? Highly testable at the examination. Taru hai 6 star, right? So what are the audit procedures can be performed by an auditor? So these are the audit procedures that the auditor can perform, right? Number one, right? Verify whether balances have been brought forward correctly. So that means the first audit procedure is the auditor has to do whether previous year closing balances have been correctly brought forward to the current year opening balance. For that, what you need to do is, in audit firm, අපි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් ඔඩිට් එකකට ගියාම මමත් ඔඩිට් ට්‍රේනින් ඉන්න කාලේ අපි ඔඩිට් එකකට ගියාම අපි පළවෙනියටම කරන්නේ මොකද්ද? ගිය අවුරුද්දේ ඔඩිට් කොපි එක අරන් ගිය අවුරුද්දේ ඔඩිටඩ් ෆයිනාන්ස් ස්ටේට්මන්ට්ස් එක අරන් අපි මේ අවුරුද්දේ ෆයිනාන්ස් ස්ටේට්මන්ට්ස් වල තියෙන ඕපනින් බැලන්ස් එක නැත්නම් ජෙනරල් ලෙජර් එකේ ට්‍රයල් බැලන්ස් එකේ තියෙන ඕපනින් බැලන්ස් එකත් එක්ක අරන් අපි ඕපනින් බැලන්ස් චෙක් කරනවා. ඇයි අපි ඕපනින් බැලන්ස් චෙක් කරන්නේ? එන්ෂුවර් කරන්න ගිය අවුරුද්දේ ක්ලෝසින් බැලන්ස් එක හරියටම ලෙජර් එකේ බ්‍රෝඩ් ෆෝවර්ඩ් කරලා තියෙනවද කියලා අපි මේක බලලා සාමාන්‍ය ඔඩිට් ෆර්ම්ස් වල මාක් එකකුත් දාන ඕපනින් බැලන්ස් චෙක් කරා කිව්වා මේ වගේ මාක් එකක්. රයිට්. මේ වගේ මාක් එකක් දැම්ම කියලා කියන්නේ සාමාන්‍ය ප්‍රැක්ටිකල් ඇප්ලිකේෂන් එකක් ස්ටෑන්ඩඩ් එකේ නෑ. මේ කියන්නේ මේ වෙලාව ඕපනින් බැලන්ස් චෙක් කරා කියලා කියන්නේ. So this mark ensure this procedure has been done by the auditor. Right? Verify whether balances have been correctly applied. Right? Number two, ensure whether accounting policies have been consistently applied. Right, number two, ensure whether the auditor should ensure whether accounting policies have been consistently applied from the previous year to the current year, as I explained previously. Number one, audit procedure, verify whether the balances have been brought forward correctly. And number two, ensure whether the accounting policies have been appropriately applied, or the accounting policies which are used for the current year are appropriate with the previous year. So that doesn't mean the accounting policies cannot be changed. You can change the accounting policies where appropriate, but if you are changing the accounting policies, you have to deal with, as you learnt, LKS 8. LKS 8, accordingly, retrospective application is required. Right. Then number 3 is another important procedure. Perform one or more of the following. One or more of the following. So you could do as an auditor one or more of the following procedures. These are very fantastic procedures. So now let's say in our audit, management, the shareholder, auditor. So auditor comes and check the finance statement. These are basic explanation. Let's say this audit was earlier done by PwC. This audit was done by PwC. Right? Now this auditor has been changed to KPMG. Right? So now currently upcoming auditor is KPMG. Right? So now you know, when the KPMG comes into the scene of the this audit of finance statement, so this firm has a communication in terms of the code of ethics that we discussed under the code of ethics chapter. So these two audit firms should have a communication in terms of the ethical practices. The KPMG should ask from the PwC to see whether, so my name has been proposed to be appointed as the auditor of this company. Do you have any professional reason as to why I should not accept this engagement? The professional reason as to why I should not accept this engagement, not the personal reason. පෞද්ගලික හේතු නෙවෙයි, වෘත්තීමය කාරණා තියෙනවද කියලා අහන්න ඕනේ. Right? Then PwC is responsible to communicate to the KPMG whether they have a reason why you should not accept the engagement. This is a ethical requirement. In addition to that, මොකද්ද? ඊට අමතරව, now the one more thing you have to do, you have to remember, this particular KPMG chartered accountant audit firm has to apply this particular standard. Why? When the KPMG comes into the scene of audit verification, that is covered under the point number 1 of this particular standard. What is that? The previous year financial statements were audited by another audit firm. So KPMG is the first time, but previous year it was done by PwC. So therefore, accordingly, auditor has to do KPMG has to do this procedure one or more of the following. What is the main thing? The main thing is KPMG is sending a letter to PwC stating that, so look here, so we have been appointed as the auditor of the Navalok Hospital PLC. As per the requirement of SLA US 510, as per the requirement of SLA US 510, we are required to evaluate. We are required to evaluate the opening balances, and accordingly, please facilitate for us to review your working papers, review your previous year working papers for us to ensure opening balances do not contain material misstatement and to have a better understanding with regard to opening balances. එකේ කියන්නේ මොකක්ද? KPMG එක PwC එකට කියනවා අපිට අපේ ස්ටෑන්ඩඩ් එකට අනුව අපිට opening balances verify කරන්න ඕනේ. ඒක නිසා ඔයාලගේ ගිය අවුරුද්දේ working papers ටික review කරන්න ඕනේ. ඔයාලගේ working papers ටික එහෙම නැත්නම් audit documentation ටික බලන්න ඕනේ කියලා කියනවා. Right? So when it is told like that, then accordingly, so one of the representative from the KPMG will go to PwC and will get the working papers of the previous year, and then accordingly it will be verified. And once you verified, you have a comfort that the closing balances of the last year, mean the opening balances of this year, are perfectly alright and no material misstatement. So accordingly, your objective of initial audit engagement is satisfied. Clear? So when I was audit associate, when I was audit supervisor actually, so at that stage I am talking about 7-8 years back. So at that time itself, this was one of my interesting area when I was I had a passion of auditing. So that passion mean I am very much interested with the auditing practicing. So at that time itself, so one of my interesting area was to go for other audit firm when the new audits are undertaken by our firm. So one of my interesting thing was to go for another audit firms and see whether these audit procedures opening balances. So for dual objectives, one is to comply this, and secondly you are get to know how the audit procedures are done in this practice, right? How audit procedures are applied by the audit firm. That is for your while you are a trainee, it is good to learn. If you get an opportunity like that, don't give up that opportunity. So you go while you are complying with the standard, and secondly you can see how audit procedures are done by another auditor. So different professional judgments are applied. It depends to the auditor to auditor. So nobody can say this auditor wrong, this auditor is only correct. You can't tell like that, right? ඔයාට කාටවත් කියන්න බෑ මේ audit firm එකේ කරන procedure එක තමයි හරි. ඒකම verify කරන තව audit firm එකකින් වෙන procedure එකක් කරනවා වෙන්න පුළුවන්. හැබැයි කාටවත් කියන්න බෑ මේ දෙකම වැරදි කියලා. ඔය දෙකම හරි වෙන්න ඕනේ. මොකද හේතුව both the auditors are well experienced auditors and they apply the professional judgment and they use the framework of auditing and they make the best estimate of professional judgment, best audit procedure. So both will be correct. Right. So one more of the following, the number one is right, review the previous auditor's working papers or a predecessor auditor's working papers, right? So you can review the previous auditors or the predecessor auditor's working papers. So this could be done, right? The second audit procedure that the auditor can perform is, right, number one is review the previous auditor's working papers, and number two, right, use current year audit procedures. The second thing it can be done, or second what the auditor can do is use the current year audit procedures that you perform. The current year audit procedures that you perform to see whether opening balance contain material misstatement. So like let's say when you are verifying the land deed, one example, when you are verifying the land deed as at 31st March 2021, you can see whether when this original land deed was signed. So if it mentioned that whether it is before the last financial year, so that virtually or a deem it is ensured that this particular land belongs to the company as at 31st March 2021. 2020 as well. So that means it's deemed ensure that the opening balance is correct. So when you are performing the current year audit procedures, the auditors can refer to the opening balances and gather the sufficient appropriate audit evidence. So that is another procedure that the auditor can do. Or if not, perform specific procedures. What is that? So if you can't use the current year audit procedures while you are performing the current year audit procedures, you can't ensure that the opening balances are correct, then auditor has to specifically decide the procedures, specifically decide the audit procedures in terms of opening balance verification. Let's say an example. So when you are calling the confirmation for the closing balance of the cash and bank, or let's say bank, auditor can perform a specific procedure. No, you can tell to the bank, so look here, I am the auditor or current auditor of this particular company, give me the opening balance confirmation as well. Give me the balance confirmation as of 31st March 2020 as well as 31st March 2021. Specific procedure. Audit is performing and a specific procedure for to address the opening balances, right? With the inventory verification, so what you could do is you can do a inventory quantity reconciliation or that type of verification to the opening balance specifically to ensure opening balance do not contain material misstatement. So accordingly, this is highly examinable part. What is that? Highly examinable part. What are the audit procedures that the auditor should perform in terms of these two circumstances? Number one, verify whether the opening balances have been correctly brought forward in the current year financial statement. And number two, ensure whether the accounting policies have been consistently applied. For let's say example, the depreciation policy, and then perform one or more of the following. Review the predecessor auditors. We call the technical words predecessor auditors, the previous year audit firm working papers, and use the current year audit procedures to ensure that the opening balances do not contain material misstatement. And number three, perform specific procedures to address the opening balances such as inventory on a calling confirmation or something like that. So these are the procedures that the auditor can do in terms of the initial audit engagement. Now the last one is the important for your examination, that is number 4. So number 4, reporting requirements, right? Reporting requirement. If there are issues with regard to opening balances, how an auditor can address those issues are discussed with this particular section, right? So since I can't write here, I am going to delete this one. I hope that you might have taken a screenshot or taken a short note accordingly. So I am going to delete this. Right. There are 4 reporting requirements. So this is highly testable at the examination. Highly testable at the examination. Right. Highly testable at the examination. There are 4 situations in which the auditor has to give the attention or auditor has to deal. Number 1, right? Number 1. If the audit evidences, if the sufficient and appropriate audit evidences cannot be obtained for the opening balance, in case if the current year auditor is unable to obtain the sufficient appropriate audit evidences for the opening balances, what type of audit report should be given? For let's example, there is a land value at the year end and the opening balance there is a land, but you cannot see a land deed for that. So that means the management is not in a position to give us the audit evidences to ensure whether the opening balance do not contain material misstatement. It is becoming a scope limitation for us. Our scope is limited by the management. When the scope limitation is given, what is the audit opinion normally we give? මතකද මෙතන එන්න කලින් මතකද ඔඩිට් රිපෝටින් එකේ මේ ඔඩිට් රිපෝටින් එකේ තියෙන summary එක right. In auditors could see two situations. One is there can be misstatements in the financial statement. There can be scope limitations. There can be scope limitations in the finance statement. So misstatement mean what? We know this particular finance statement has a error. Let's say example, depreciation as per management is 100 million. As per the auditor's recalculation, this is 80 million. There is a 20 million exact error in the finance statement. That is a misstatement. What is meant by scope limitation? So our scope is limited. Let's say the certain documents of the company related to the current year audit are destroyed due to a fire. So ginnak ඇති වෙලා company එකේ තියෙන සමහර records ටිකක් නැති වෙලා යන්න පුළුවන්. Records ටික destroy වෙලා. So that is an scope limitation. And also the management say, look here, don't call the confirmation from the debtors. So then our scope is limited by the management. If our scope is limited, we cannot do anything. Then accordingly we will not be able to tell anything also. So you can remember, if there are misstatement, whether if those misstatements are material, we give an opinion called qualified. Matakada audit reporting, right? When the misstatement is material and purposive, when the misstatement is material and the purposive, the purposiveness mean what? The purposiveness mean very large impact. Impact cannot be quantified. It's a very large impact. So for the example I am telling for you all to understand this, sometime the previous webinars I have told, අපි goal phase එකට ගිහලා goal phase එක ළඟ ඉඳන් මූද බලනවා. The මූද බලපුවාම මූද කොච්චරනම් විශාලද? How large the sea? And කොච්චර ලොකුද කියන නම් අහසයි මුහුදයි එකතු වෙනවා අහසයි මුහුදයි එකතු වෙනවා අත බලන් ඉන්නකොට. Similarly, the purposiveness is the very large impact to the financial statement which cannot be quantified. I hope that you have already discussed under the audit reporting chapter, the previous webinar series, so I am not going to waste time into that. So the material and purposiveness is when the material and purposive of a misstatement, we give opinion called adverse, right? And the scope limitation mean we don't know exactly like misstatement, whether there are misstatement also we don't know, we cannot comment anything. The similar concept is applicable. So if it is if it is material, so you give a qualified opinion, right? If it is material and purposive, and we give a disclaimer of opinion. The misstatement material qualified, misstatement material and purposive adverse, scope limitation material qualified, scope limitation material and purposive, disclaimer of opinion. So I am not going to explain detail in this one because I hope that audit reporting webinar you have, so it has been already been covered, right? But remember, in your examination, this diagram not only for the audit reporting chapter but for other chapters like going concern, like initial audit engagement will be important. So therefore this diagram has to be remembered with you in a proper way, right? So the first circumstances under the initial audit engagement is right, auditor is unable to obtain sufficient and appropriate evidences. Auditor is unable to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidences with regard to an opening balance. What would be your audit report? So if the auditor is unable to obtain mean what? So that is a scope limitation. So therefore it will be either qualified or disclaimer of opinion, right? If it is only material, it will be a qualified, but if it is material and pervasive, it's a disclaimer of opinion, right? First scenario, audit is unable to obtain the audit evidences with regard to the opening balances. And the second scenario, opening balance contains material misstatement. Now we are sure the opening balance contain material misstatement. We are sure about that. If you are sure about that the opening balance contain material misstatement, in our diagram of audit reporting goes to the number 1 misstatement. So if it contains material misstatement, our opinion will be, if it is material, qualified opinion. If these misstatements are pervasive, the large impact to the finance statement which cannot be impacted, it cannot be measured, it is impacted in everywhere in the finance statement. So then it will be an adverse opinion. Right, second circumstances, qualified or adverse opinion will have to be given, right? And then third situation, accounting policies are not consistently applied, right? Accounting policies are not consistently applied. If the accounting policies are not consistently applied, mean it is a very clear indication that it is a misstatement. Accounting policies are not consistently applied, mean it is a misstatement. So therefore, so you go by your audit report format in the general diagram. So you give a qualified or adverse depending on the pervasiveness impact that we look at the audit reporting section. The fourth circumstances is right, modification made to opening balance remains relevant. What is that situation? Now let us say your previous year audited financial statement have been qualified or have been modified because of inventory. Because of inventory or because of the property, plant and equipment, these two issues, the last year audited finance statements have been qualified or it has been given a modified audit opinion. But when it comes to current year, so okay, now modifying the previous year audit report or the previous year audited finance statement, it's okay. It can happen in any circumstances or different circumstances, it's possible. But as a current year auditor, what you need to look at? So you need to see whether that particular qualification or a modification to the audit report remains relevant. දැන් ගිය අවුරුද්දේ තිබුණ මූල්‍ය ප්‍රකාශනවල මොනවා හරි වරදක් තිබුණා නම් ඒකට අදාළව විගණන වාර්තාවට ඒක ඇතුළත් කරලා තියනවා වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒක ප්‍රශ්නයක් නෑ. හැබැයි මේ අවුරුද්දේ අවසානයේ එනකොට අපි බලන්න ඕනේ ඒ වාර්තා කරලා තියෙන සිදුවීම තවදුරටත් මේ අවුරුද්දට අදාළද නැද්ද කියලා. මේ අවුරුද්දට අදාළ නැත්නම් අපි ඒ මොඩිෆයි කරලා තිබ්බයි කියලා මේ අවුරුද්ද මොඩිෆයි කරන්නේ නැත. හැබැයි ඒ කාරණය තවදුරටත් අදාළයි නම් remains relevant, තවදුරටත් අදාළයි නම් අපේ current audit report එක ඒකට අදාළ වෙන විදියට modify කරන්න ඕන, right? The standard doesn't tell you, now I'll tell you again, if your audit report, last year audit report has been qualified or modified due to an error, due to a misstatement or a scope limitation or on any item, as far as the current year auditor need to see whether the impact of the particular qualification made to the previous year audit, whether it still remains relevant, whether it's still relevant to the current year financial statement or the current year closing balances, then accordingly, if yes, then the accordingly current year report also should be modified. Or in another scenario, even though the previous year finance statement have been modified, but during the current year the issue has been rectified, then the current year audited finance statement do not carry a modification even if the opening balance or opening previous finance statements are modified, right. So therefore, the modification made to the opening balance in the previous year finance statement remains relevant, right. Then what will be your response, right, and report will be modified, accordingly, right. So that you cannot say, the fourth situation you cannot say qualified disclaimer, you cannot say the qualified disclaimer adverse or whatever the audit report type, or you cannot tell. You have to see the real situation and see whether this is applicable for the current year and treat accordingly. So these are the four situations highly examinable. So these are the four situations where how auditor deal with the four different scenarios under the opening balances which were not audited by your firm, or the opening balances which have never been audited by your auditor. So under these two circumstances, how to deal with an audit situation or audit procedures or audit conclusion is, it has four steps. Number one, auditor unable to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidences, then the qualified or a disclaimer of opinion, and the opening balance contain material misstatement, qualified or adverse, and accounting policies are not consistently applied, qualified or adverse, and modification made at the previous year still remains relevant, and the current year opinion will be modified looking at the impact accordingly, right. So these are the four situations that the examiner would touch at the examination, right. So this is all about in this particular standard. 210 standard talk about the four thing. Number one, initial audit engagement is applied in a two different situation, two different scenarios, and then objective of this standard is to mainly to ensure that the opening balance do not contain material misstatement which affect to the current year, and the ensure accounting policies have been consistently applied. When it comes to audit procedure, highly examinable. So that has the main three procedures. Number one, whether opening balances have been brought forward correctly, and number two, the accounting policies have been correctly or consistently applied, and number three, so perform one or more of the following. One is reviewing the previous year auditor's working papers, and number two, use the current year audit procedures in verifying the opening balances or perform the specific audit procedures. And number four, the reporting requirements. The basically reporting we have a four contain. So auditor is unable to obtain sufficient and appropriate evidences, qualified or a disclaimer of opinion depending on the pervasiveness. Opening balance contain material misstatement, qualified or adverse. Accounting policies are not consistently applied, qualified or adverse, and the opening balance contain a misstatement still remains. Opening balance contain a modification but still remains relevant, then accordingly modify the current year, right. So let us look at the few questions. So first of all, we look at the pilot paper question of MCQ question. So pilot paper MCQ question, this is question, sorry, not pilot paper, we will take the December online. So December online question number 1.4, see this one. So what you could do is, now before watching, pause the video and please go to this particular question and do the question, and after that you can watch my answer, otherwise there is no meaning of looking the answer. See, Sea Travels PLC ST owns and operates luxury boats for tourism at Mirissa Beach. The audit testing carried out indicated an impairment loss of the luxury boats and equipment that exceeded the overall material level determined for the audit. See, the audit testing carried out and indicated an impairment loss, there is an impairment loss of the luxury boats and equipment that exceeded an overall material level determined for the audit. Sorry, I think so this is not the question, sorry, 1.4, I made a mistake, right, 1.4. So not 1.6, 1.4. So you are the engagement manager of an initial audit engagement as defined in SLAUS 510, initial audit engagement, opening balances. The current year end is 30th September 2020. The financial statement of the prior year were audited by another auditor. So you are the engagement manager of an initial audit engagement as defined in SLAUS 510, initial audit engagement, opening balances. The current year end is 30th September 2020. The financial period is important. The finance statement for the prior year were audited by another auditor. Prior year were audited by another auditor mean that is coming under this particular standard. The analysis, right? The audit client has an investment property measured at fair value. In the prior, the fair value was estimated using an income-based valuation methodology. However, in the current year, the method was changed to a cost-based valuation methodology. Read that paragraph again. The audit client has an investment property measured at fair value. In the prior year, the fair value was estimated using the income-based valuation methodology. The company has an investment property measured at fair value. So last year we have valued at the income-based approach. However, in the current year, the method was changed for a cost-based valuation methodology. So you see, so both years at fair value, but the fair value mechanism, the fair value methodology has been changed from the previous year to the current year. So previous year it was from the income-based valuation and the current year is cost-based valuation. In the above situation, which of the following procedures are like? In the above situation, which of the following procedures you are least likely to perform? In the current year audit, least likely. See, some of our students are going wrong, least likely. So what is the least likely mean? මේ හතරම auditors ලා කරන්න පුළුවන්. හැබැයි මේ හතරෙන් අඩුම වශයෙන් කියන්නේ කරන්න තියෙන හැකියාව අඩු. නැත්නම් කරන්න තියෙන හැකියාවක් නැහැ කියලා නෙමෙයි කියන්නේ. කරන්න තියෙන හැකියාවක් අඩු audit procedure එක මොකක්ද කියලා තමයි මේ අහන්නේ. Right. Now I have trained you all for the MCQ question. What is my golden rules for MCQ question? Number 1, golden rule, elimination theory. What is that? Elimination theory. So you need to apply the elimination theory. That means always don't try to select the correct answer. Try to eliminate the wrong 2 answers and get into a 2 answers. So please apply that, right? Elimination theory. So you remove the wrong 2 answers and you try to identify the correct answers too. And out of that you select the best answer. So the most difficult question in this world is MCQ type of question, right? So that you have to adapt. The second golden rule in the MCQ question is the immediate answer that comes to your mind is wrong. So please follow these 2 guidelines, so which always I try to give in all MCQ question discussion. Number 1, right? So number 1, try to adapt the elimination theory. Always remove the 2 wrong answers and get into 2 answers, because always the 2 answers are normally 2 answers are little almost same. So it's very difficult to identify one of the correct answer. The second thing is, always you need to remember the immediate answer that comes to your mind may not be correct answer. So that you have to be alert on that. So therefore don't immediately, if you feel this is correct, so think twice. The immediate thinking that comes to your mind may not be correct. So therefore that also remember in mind, so then you don't go wrong or you don't make wrong conclusion. So in that diagram we will see elimination theory and we will see the answer of this question. Part A. Reviewing the predecessor auditor's working papers on how appropriateness of the valuation method was evaluated in the previous year. Reviewing the predecessor auditor's working papers on how the appropriateness of the valuation method was evaluated in the previous year. So as far as the previous year audit, right? So if you read this question says in the first paragraph, you are the engagement manager of an initial audit engagement. So that means, so you are into the new audit of this particular year, and the first procedure is reviewing the predecessor auditor's working papers and how the appropriateness of the valuation method was evaluated in the previous year, so that you are aware. So that answer is correct, because that answer is correct. Answer is correct mean normally auditors are performing that procedure looking at the predecessor auditor's working paper. So therefore that can't be a least likely, it will be a most likely. Therefore answer A correct. So that may not be the least likely. Part B. Obtaining the valuation report of the current year and testing the appropriateness of the valuation method used. Obtaining the valuation report of the current year and testing the appropriateness of the valuation method used, that also general auditors do. So you look at the current evaluation report and see whether the valuation methodology that they have adopted, and to see whether you can challenge that methodology as per the valuation industry norms OSLFRS 13. And number 3. So that also going to be a correct answer. C. Considering the use of an expert to assist the auditor, in determining the appropriateness of the change in the valuation method. Considering the use of an expert to assist the auditor in determining the appropriateness of the change in the valuation method. That I am not sure. Actually. So therefore answer C is doubtful. And answer D. Reperforming the work relevant to estimating the fair value in the prior year. Reperforming the work relevant to estimating the fair value in the prior year and reporting on its reasonableness in the current year audit opinion. Reperforming the work relevant to estimating the fair value in the prior year and reporting on its reasonableness in the current year audit opinion. I have my doubt over there, right? Now, so answer A and B is most likely the auditor will perform. So therefore I am going to elimination theory. I am going to take it out that answers part A and B. Now I have two answers, elimination theory, part C and D. The immediate answer, the answer that comes to your mind is part D, but it may not be correct. So therefore I am now evaluating using my two golden rules what will be the best answer in answering this. And again I am highlighting, please apply these two golden rules in answering MCQ questions. Part C. Considering the use of an expert to assist the auditor in determining the appropriateness of the change in the valuation method. Now the previous year valuation method has been changed into the current year valuation for a new method at the current year. If the auditor feel that they have done to manipulate the financial statement, always auditor can use the auditor's expert. It can be done, but normally auditors don't do. But if there are specific circumstances, then auditor has to perform that. So that is that has to be done, and normally that provisions are there in the auditing standard. So therefore part C also on a possible audit procedure that auditor may do. Part D. Reperforming the work relevant to estimating the fair value in the prior year and reporting on its reasonableness in the current year audit opinion. Reperforming the work relevant to the estimating the fair value in the prior year and reporting on its reasonable in the current year audit opinion. So that is something not, we can't say auditor may not do, but least likely to do. Why? Reperforming the work relevant to estimating the fair value in the prior year and reporting on its reasonableness in the current year audit opinion. So we believe that the previous year audit has been completed, and accordingly the fair value they might have assessed in the last year and according to the last year mechanism. So accordingly auditor will not be performing this type of procedure and looking at the prior year financial figures and estimating their reasonableness and the current year audit opinion, because so we believe that that has already been addressed at the current year, so previous year audit, and accordingly the best answer, I won't say 100% perfect answer, the best answer out of A, B, C, D, or the least likely answer is answer D. Answer D, 1.4, answer D, reperforming the work relevant to estimating the fair value in the prior year and reporting its reasonableness in the current year's audit opinion. And if you go to the February 2021 the question number 1.2, that is very straightforward theoretical question. If you can remember the theory, the 2 marks. So nothing to talk about, that 2 marks in your hand, right. 1.2, you work for an audit firm. So this paper is February 2021. You work for an audit firm and the audit manager made the following statements in relation to an initial audit engagement. The engagement in which the company's finance statement for the prior period was not audited by any audit firm. The engagement in which the company's finance statement for the prior period was audited by a firm other than your audit firm. The engagement in which the company's press finance statement are to be audited by an audit firm. The engagement in which the company's finance statement for the prior period was audited and audit opinion was modified by your firm. So which of the above statement correctly explains the term initial audit engagement per SLA US 510 initial audit engagements opening balances? 1 and 2 only, 2 only, 2 and 3 only, 4 only. So if you see, this is a straightforward answer. Number 1, the engagement in which the company's finance statement for the prior period was not audited, yes, that is coming under our purview. Number 2, the engagement in which the company's finance statement for the prior period was audited by firm other than your firm, that is audited by another audit firm, yes, that is coming under our purview. You can look at the diagram that we discussed just now. And the engagement in which the company's press finance statement are to be audited by an audit firm, the engagement in which the company's press finance statement to be audited, that doesn't have opening balances. So therefore, that standard is not applicable. Number 4, the engagement in which the company's finance statement for the prior period was audited and the audit opinion was modified by your firm. If your firm has done the opening balances, this particular standard is not applicable because there is no meaning. So therefore, answer 1 and 2 the correct answer. So therefore, answer A will be the correct answer. If you see another question, another question of KB4, long question, June 2019, right? June 2019, I don't take much timing into this because we have to move to the next session. Part B of this is a long case scenario, but I am not going to read the full question. It will take very long time and no meaning. So see, this question number 7 of you are an audit senior of DP Associate, a firm of chartered accountants. Currently, you are engaged in the audit of Knickwear Private Limited for the year ended 31st March 2019. There is a big story given for risk assessment. I am not going to read that. Okay. Alright. So we look at the question with regard to the opening balances, part B. So part A, audit risk identification, that we have already discussed. Part B, explain 3 procedures that the auditor should carry out to confirm the opening balances of the new audit engagement. Action verb, highlight, explain, number of marks, highlight, 6 marks. So therefore, now you should feel explain 3 procedures mean, so you have to elaborately explain, otherwise you won't get the 2 marks, right. So that you have to understand. If you just mention the fact, you will get only 1 mark, but you have to elaborate in how to do that also, so that 6 marks will be given accordingly. 1 point or a 1 point in the answer will carry a 2 marks. So explain 3 procedures that the auditor should carry out to confirm the opening balances of the new audit engagement. So how many times I told you the previous webinar, when you are reading the required section, at least 3 times you have to read. Explain 3 procedures that the auditor should carry out to confirm the opening balances of the new audit engagement. So what are the 3 procedures that the auditor should perform? Now can you tell with me without looking at the board? Anyway, that is not there in the board. So can you remember and tell with me what is number 1 and what is number 2 and what is number 3, right? What is number 1? To ensure whether the opening balances have been correctly brought forward. So therefore, that opening balances must be checked with the previous year audited financial statements. That is number 1, right? And number 2, to check whether the accounting policies have been appropriately applied. And number 3, perform one or more of the following. Review the predecessor auditor's working papers, that can be done. Use the current audit procedures to verify the opening balances or perform the specific procedures. So you have, those are the 3 answers which are expected by you, which are expected from you by the examiner. So that you have to elaborate and write. When you are writing the press point, right, balances are being brought forward. So there you have to press say that the balances are, whether we have to perform, verify whether balances have been brought forward, and then you have to say how we are going to do. You get the last year audited finance statement and take the trial balance of the current year opening trial balance and cross check one to one to see whether the balances are correct, right. Then the accounting policies, again we have to elaborate that the accounting policies, and it's through an example. Better write an example. So let's say the depreciation example, straight line method or a reducing balance method, and see whether this has been correctly consistently applied, and if not, right, then if not, that has should have been dealt with LKS 8. So then you will get the 2 marks. And number 3rd point, so if you write these 3 procedures, explain one or more of the following procedure, 3 if you properly write, so you will get 2 marks. So accordingly 6 marks have been allocated. I am not going to explain, you can go to the suggested solution of CA Sri Lanka, and I am not going to give an answer, you can go and see. So but only thing is, remember, when you are writing, always the writing quantity will depend on the number of marks being tested, right. So now given that next examination of July 2021 is online examination, I am the happiest one of the, because this type of subject, the online examination is there, because despite many challenges, I know most of you are struggling, for some of you are struggling because of maybe computer issues, maybe typing speed, maybe technology, or maybe internet facility or whatever. But one plus point is, so you will not be, because you can't type too much of long answers, you will be stick to the point and you will write in the point form. So therefore you will get a proper adequate number of marks. Let's say now some students used to come and say, sir pot 3ක් ලිව්වා ලකුණු 32යි මේ පාර හම්බුනේ. The number of marks that you are going to get depends on the number of booklets that you attend. The quality of the answer or write in the point form, because so when you look at the suggested solution, so you can see the story like a paragraph answers are there, but that is good for the, if you know exactly know the answer, that is correct, but most of you don't know the exactly answer. So you are touching everywhere, so better to write in the point form, then at least you will get some marks out of the total marks. So therefore, so online examination is good in that angle. The second thing is, as we know now, during this pandemic continues and it goes till December. So our life is going to delay by already 1.5 years has gone with this COVID, another 6 months if delay. So 2 years of your life is getting delayed. So we have to take up the challenges and we have to move forward. So CA Sri Lanka has taken lot of initiatives for that, so therefore we should appreciate, and I appreciate, and you all also should appreciate those initiatives. And with that, so we have to take up this challenge and somehow do the examination in July. We don't know December, if another wave comes, whether we have to postpone for another 6 months, it's not going to be practical. So we have to take up the challenge, and everything has a risk. Yes, online examination, there is a risk of technology, but don't worry for the typing speed. Don't worry for the typing speed, because that can be improved. If you can learn big complex like this, audit planning, risk assessment, detection risk, inherent risk, test of control, test of detail, මේ වගේ ලොකු දේවල්, financial reporting කියලා consolidation adjustment, non controlling interest ඔය ඉගෙන ගන්න පුළුවන් නම්, ඔය practice කරන්න පුළුවන් නම් මේ typing speed එක මොකද්ද? ඔක පොඩි දෙයක් තියෙනවා. ඔක හිතේ ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා. ඔක හිතේ ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා. So now සමහර ඔයාලා ගොඩක් වෙලාවට business level 1 and 2 නැත්නම් 80 final සිංහල medium tamil medium වලින් කරලා ඇති. හැබැයි corporate level strategic level වලට එනකොට English medium වලින් කරන්න ඕනේ. දැන් ඔය කරන්නේ ලස්සනට. ඒ වගේ තමයි typing speed එක. ඉතින් මොකද්ද කරන්න ඕනේ මේ දවස් ටිකට වැඩි worry වෙන්න එපා. ගන්න මේ හැමදාම දවසට ප්‍රශ්න දෙකක්. දවස් 20ක් තියෙනවා නම් ප්‍රශ්න දෙක ගානේ ප්‍රශ්න 40ක්. type කරන්න. ඊට වඩා වෙන මොකුත් කරන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. ඒ හොඳටම ඇති. ඒ කරලා විශේෂයෙන් auditing වගේ subject එකකට කිසි දෙයකට බය වෙන්න එපා. I am telling confidently you, face to the online exam, you will get through this time, because you are not supposed to be written stories in the auditing. Big stories are not required. Write the answer to the point form. So that will happen during the online exam if you know the point, right? Only my request is during the examination, for this type of examination paper, what you need is a peaceful mind, right? You need to be very relaxed mind. You should not get panic at the exam. If you get panic, your performance comes down by 40%, of your brain performance comes down by the 40% end of the day. But this is a thinking and writing subject, you will not be able to answer the question. The next thing some of the students raise these days in the online examination is open book examination. But my answer is open book examination, no use for this type of practical subject. Even if you carry the now I can remember those days KC4 students of auditing student, they are carrying with all the standard books, right? Big bag. Then coming back from the exam also with the same thing, but they didn't have a time to look at the standard book. You don't have a time, because this is a practical subject where you have to apply the knowledge into the practical situation. You cannot look at a book, right? So therefore don't keep too much of hopes. Yeah, you can use if it is open book exam, but don't keep too much of hopes that I will be able to look at the book and write the answers. May not be, because practical situation you have to think and write in accordingly, right? Okay. So therefore part C, next one, part C. Outline the impact of the audit report when the auditing opening inventory balance contain misstatement. Very straightforward. What is the audit reporting impact? Outline the impact of the audit report when the opening inventory balance contain misstatement. If the opening inventory balance contain misstatement, whether that misstatement is material, so you would give an opinion and it has a current year impact, and then you will give a qualified opinion, right? And then if it is material and pervasive, you will give an adverse opinion. Similarly, so that is a first answer, plus points, directly you have to say, that may be about 2 marks for your answer. Then this misstatement is arising because of accounting policy. Then next second point, because of accounting policy, then you have to write the answer qualified or adverse. And also you have to say that particular misstatement has been already modified in the previous year financial statement, and then accordingly the current year modification has to be changed accordingly, right? The number 4th point, in addition to the misstatement, if the auditor is unable to obtain the evidences on the misstatement that was there in the opening balance, again qualified or a disclaimer, because this is an open question. This is a very open question. Now you should remember, now see, outline, action verb is outline. The auditor's impact on the audit report when the audit opening inventory balance contain misstatement for 5 marks. The ලකුණු 5කට අහන්නේ. the ලකුණු 5කට අහනකොට අපිට හිතනවා මේක විතරයි උත්තරේ. අයි contain misstatement, material and pervasive, qualified and adverse. ඉතින් ඕකට ලකුණු 5ක් දෙන්න ඕනද? මේක වෙල common sense. ලකුණු 5ක් දෙන්න ඕනද ඒකට? ලකුණු 2යි මේකට උත්තරේ. කියලා අපිට හිතෙන්න ඕනේ නැද්ද? අපිට මේ හිතෙන්නේ නැද්ද? අපිට මේ හිතෙන්න ඕනේ. Now then you should feel that is why I am telling highlight the number of marks. So now you should feel that 5 marks is given allocated, mean my answer should be little bit more quantified, or a more quantity should increase. At least 3 or 4 points should come, then only I will be getting, or I will be allocated 5 marks. That should feel. So according to, now you have to think beyond the boundaries. Okay, question is talking about the misstatement. Misstatement can arise on this way, but the misstatement can arise this way also, and misstatement can arise in this way also, and that misstatement can be a link to the scope limitation. Therefore all 4 has to be written here. This, because of this is open question, so that is the examiner's expectation for this particular question, right? So with that we are concluding the auditing opening balances, and we discussed 3 questions, and then so this auditing opening balances as a 2-part. One is initial audit engagement and the 710 corresponding figures. So let's move into the corresponding figures.